Hey guys, it's your host Ryan DeFaber. I just want to let you know on this episode we have my wife Lindsay DeFaber here. We talk about running. We talk about how she came to Wingate, how we met, her side of the story on why she started hanging out with me and dating me, and then now we've been married 11 years, and the story behind that. It was fun. She was nervous, which I loved. I appreciate the fact that she was openly nervous about it, but also vulnerable and has a fun story to talk about, especially if you want to know a little bit more about me, but from a different perspective. She provided it, and it was a good conversation. We did it after a date night, so that's what married couples do after 11 years. You go and have a nice dinner together, and then you sit down and have a podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. As always, hit me up on Instagram, DM me, send me a comment, share it on your stories that you're listening to these podcasts. It means a lot to me. It lets me know who's out there, who's listening, and what you're enjoying about it. And I'll make sure that I hit you back and share it on my stories that you guys are all listening. So I appreciate all the support. I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. It was fun to sit down with Lindsay and have a nice little banter back and forth because it's just a good way for us to always connect and keep it fun and exciting and share our story. So I appreciate everyone's support again, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2 Cents Worth. I'm your host, as always, Ryan DeFaber. I have my most special guest and also most important guest so far and forever. So, episode 9, we have drum roll. Should I do a drum roll on the table? Oh, she's doing her own drum roll. Lindsay DeFaber, my wife, people. Let's get fucking pumped. It's time to get wild. We are going to learn about Lindsay. We're going to learn about your athletic career. We're going to learn about who you are. We're going to learn about why you're here with me. Which...
Get excited.
Yeah, let's get excited. Let's talk about the incredible journey and how lucky you are to have me as your husband. Not only, and that's the dog. You can hear the dog scratching his this fucking dog. Not only am I your husband.
That's right.
But I'm now, with this podcast, internationally known. So keep that in mind. All right. So, for those of you listening, in all seriousness, I do have my wife here, but it's not out of... I just want to have my wife on the podcast. I want to, exploit my family in any way. It's because she does have a really good story around athletics and fitness and life in general, and has a great story to tell you all and why sports have been important in her life, and how actually sports in general brought her and I together. And if you know me, you've heard my side of the story of how we met, and I wanted to give her the opportunity to tell it in her perspective and her light, as well as her just athletic career, and then who she is today, who is Lindsay Bolt DeFaber, and how did she get there, and what is her story around who she is and why she's here with me. And I'm very thankful for her. So, loading it on thick, right? I am. I'm trying, Kim. And I'm about to close out live. So, Kim, have a great night. I'm recording Instagram Live right now, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just end that, and we're going to do some videos after that. So,
bye, Kim.
Bye, Kim. So let's start with, and I'm going to pull up my notes. I have you down as Lindsay Sweet Ass DeFaber. So if you've listened to episode 8, you guys got to hear me talk about how I take pictures of your butt. and how appreciative I am of your butt. You got a sweet ass, girl. I'm going to tell you. And I appreciate it, and it's fantastic. All right, so let's start. It's enough about me. Tell me about yourself. Tell the listeners about yourself.
Yes. So first and foremost, I am fighting a terrible head cold, so forgive my voice. But I am a true Florida cracker. I was born and raised in Florida, and I decided to escape the Florida heat and come up to North Carolina for college. And I went to Wingate, wherever you are from. I'm a small school outside of Charlotte, and that is where Ryan went as well. And that is where we met. And after college, decided to not go back to Florida. Sorry, Mom and Dad. And have had various jobs since then. And I kind of like to call myself, I am an introverted extrovert. I enjoy introverted time with friends and family. I kind of like to be a hermit every now and then, but I do have my extroverted times as well. So I think that kind of describes me as far as who I am. I'm an introverted extrovert.
You give her 2 glasses of wine, you got yourself a party on
and some
hands.
NSYNC.
Oh,
Done.
Jesus Christ. Again, we talked about that. Listen to I'm going to tell you, press pause now, go back to episode 8, and you're going to hear me talk about her ridiculous taste in music and how bullshit it is. And it's
fabulous.
It's embarrassing, and I don't approve of it as her husband, or as, even if I was just somebody that knew her, disapprove. Unlike, dislike. I don't anything in so. Can you unlike something in social media? Like you can like everything, but you can't unlike it.
I think you can. In Facebook, you can do like a sad face.
I don't get on Facebook. I don't know.
But there's no like thumbs down.
Okay.
So just don't like it.
I would like to tell people that I don't like it through a quick, hey, that was stupid.
There's no
I don't like
thumbs up or a
thumbs
middle
down,
finger.
you mean?
Or a middle finger.
Or middle finger. There you go. Let's get super aggressive and put a middle finger out there. Hey,
it's not out there.
I don't like it. But if I like it, I give you a thumbs up. If I don't like it, I give you a middle finger. Not a thumbs down, a middle finger. That's good. No, listen. Again, if you know anything about me, this is why we're married, people. She's right in line with where I'm at. All right, so grew up in Florida.
I did.
Parents are from upstate New York.
They are.
Should we talk about the crazy story first about the wedding ring, or should we hold that out?
We're gonna jump right there.
Well, let's Quentin Tarantino it. Which you don't know anything about that, do you? Because you don't watch movies. And I posted on Instagram earlier this week about how she had pants that looked like Back to the Future pants. And she told me, I've never seen the movie. I almost fucking slammed the door and walked out at that point in time.
Oh,
the girl's never watched movies, but yet she has some bullshit, disgusting taste in music. It drives me nuts. But Quentin Tarantino, great director and producer of movies, usually tells the ending of a story in the beginning, and then the story goes into it. I see.
Yeah. So you could Quentin Tarantino it.
I think I'm going to.
Okay, do it.
Yeah, I think we've gone down this rabbit hole. Let's go ahead and keep going.
Do it.
So she grew up in Florida, but her parents are from upstate New York. My mom grew up in upstate New York. You're fine.
Buffalo, to be exact.
Buffalo, Buffalo, Rochester area. So my mom also grew up in that area, and Lindsay's wedding ring is my great aunt's wedding ring from the 1920s, late 1920s. And again, like Lindsay said, we met at Wingate. She grew up in Florida. I grew up in Rhode Island. Moved down here to Charlotte. Coincidence, obviously, fate, whatever it is, brings us together in Wingate. We start dating. We'll get into that later. I proposed to her with my mom had this diamond ring at the house. Always had it, and it was my great aunt's ring. Come to find out, somehow a picture
from Uncle David.
My Uncle David, who passed away, he was our guy that kind of kept our
The family tree.
Family tree all together through photos and whatnot. Had a picture of my aunt wearing this ring on a bench outside a gas station outside of Buffalo. And as I asked her dad permission to ask her to be my wife, we kind of got into the story, and later that photo came out, and your dad was like, I've been there. I know exactly where that is. So just small world.
Well, and
Full
when we
circle.
went up to New York for my grandma's 90th birthday, I believe, Grandma Baltus, we went to that gas station and got a replica of the picture.
It's an ice cream shop now.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's not a gas station anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of cool.
Small
world. Again, didn't know each other growing up, all this stuff. So let's get back to you. Let's talk about your athletic background. You glossed over it in who you are. But who is, I said, we already talked about who is Lindsay, but who is Lindsay as an athlete? Like, for those of you that don't know Lindsay, she ran cross country in college. And if you don't know what cross country it is, it means you run for fun. And I know that sounds so fucking stupid because it's so fucking stupid. But that's my own opinion. I'm just kidding. Running's great for you.
That's your own 2 cents.
It's my 2 cents worth. And if you don't like it, don't tune in.
Yeah.
And you know what? You keep tuning in. You want to know why? Because my 2 cents is worth it. All right. So let's talk about, how did you get into cross country? I want to understand, for everybody that's listening, I might not know all of it, right? Like, we've been married for 11 years. I want to know, like, how do you go from, all right, grew up in Florida, to you've now focused on running is what you want to do?
So both of my parents, I grew up around running my entire life. My dad actually, I would say, was the true runner in our house. Dad, forgive me, he went to either UB or Buff State.
Buff State.
Buff State.
Why do I know that?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so my dad went to Buff State on a running scholarship and was actually training for the Munich Olympics and blew out his knee. And after that, I think kind of got lethargic.
It led to a career of, let's say,
of drinking and cigarettes.
Chuck, we love you and you know it. It led to a career of drinking cigarettes and bowling.
True, yes.
Like, this guy was the epitome of a redneck in upstate New York. Like, I don't know what you guys call him in New York, but here in the South, he would be considered a redneck.
So didn't get very far in his college career. Ended up with his AA somewhere. Again, Dad.
What's an AA for anybody listening outside of the United States, Lindsay?
Associate's degree of some sort.
There you go. It's 2-year college. It's
college.
like going to a community school.
Yes.
My God. By the way, she is one of the smartest people I've ever met.
That's a family trend where we can be book smart, but we're not street smart. Just saying.
Yeah, we have to tell her brother to come in when it's raining. He's a super genius. I have stocks with this guy, but I can't. You got to tell him when it's fucking raining outside. All right, go ahead.
So Dad blew out his knee. He's hanging out in Buffalo. He meets my mom at a bar where my mom is bartending. And 6 months later, they get married.
Stop. You glossed over something that's a gem in there, and I want you to talk about it.
So my dad, I think...
You already knew what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I already knew. I could just tell.
Yeah.
So my dad met her, I'm just going to say, on a Friday night.
Yeah, sure.
I don't really know the exact day.
Knowing bowling, it was probably like a Wednesday night.
Yeah, like, that's true. So let's say Wednesday night. On Friday night, he proposed to my mom, and she is like hardcore Catholic. Like, absolutely not. My
one
mom
of 7,
Yes.
8 kids.
And my mom was like, hell no, Chuck Bull, I am not marrying you. So my dad was like, that's fine. Like, I'm going to try again. I got game. So Dad tries.
Guys, I'm going to stop you 1 second. If you've ever seen Old School, and the guy that rings the doorbell and says, I'm here for the gangbang, I want you to take a screenshot of that, and I want you to DM me that or email me that, because I'm going to then email you or DM you a picture of my father-in-law, who is the exact replica of that man, which I was told, I had never thought about it. I was told on the day of my wedding, the night before my wedding, they're like, my friends came down to the wedding and go, dude, your father-in-law's the dude from the gangbang. Chuck, I'm so sorry that you have to listen to this, but it's fact. It's fact. You're the guy from old school that was there for the gangbang. All right, go ahead.
So my dad tries again, I think maybe 2 or 3 days later. I'm not sure of the exact term. And my mom says yes, and has to go and explain this to her family. And then my dad also has to explain it to his family. And I remember the story vividly. Grandma was like, what girl did you propose to? Because dad just loved the girls.
He was a player. You have to when you got that perm.
True. So mom and dad get married in Buffalo in December, 6 months later, and have been married 40 plus years. Forgive me that I don't know the exact number of years.
How old's your brother?
My brother just turned 40.
So they've been married over 40 years. That's all you have to say at this point.
And I think that's what I said, right?
You said 40 plus, but I don't know.
So over 40
Polite
years.
way of saying it would have been like 40 plus.
40 plus years. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So throughout their marriage, somehow, some way, my mom also kind of took up running as well. And my dad got back into it, probably with having kids. And now I completely understand where that came from. Excuse me. And my dad had, I think, 2 different knee surgeries. I remember growing up. And kind of got back into it and became that avid runner, and actually became more of a marathon runner. And my mom kind of just followed suit. They have run now 10 or so marathons. Forgive me. Again, I don't know.
They have a lot of posters up in their house.
Yeah, a
marathons.
lot. So again, I grew up with it. I didn't know any better. Every weekend we were at some 5K, 10K kind of race. And I associated the road races as, where were we going to breakfast afterwards? So we're going to this race. I know there's a McDonald's there and we're going to get pancakes afterwards. Or there's a Crackle Barrel. That's where I know I'm going to get breakfast afterwards. And that's kind of how I just grew up on the weekends. I do have an older brother, and he's 6 years older than me. He kind of followed suit as well with my parents, and was also cross country and a track runner. So I grew up around cross country meets on the weekends as well, and track meets in the spring. So I kind of didn't know any better as far as any other sports that existed, to be completely honest. I did the quote unquote dance. So I did ballet and jazz, and I was terrible. I can't believe my parents even spent the money on that. I am not coordinated it by any means. You put any equipment in front of me and I suck. But you put running shoes on me and tell me to run, I'm Forrest Gump. Like, that's all I knew. And I remember...
So you're a retard?
Maybe.
No, that was terrible. That was bad. And unfortunately, I don't edit this, so that was just terrible.
People are going to get at you about that
I
one.
know. Nobody listens to this anyways. It's okay. It's just your parents. Go ahead.
Ashley will be upset.
No, she'll be here tomorrow. We'll be fine. She'll get over it. Actually, she won't even know when we're recording, so we're right.
I vividly remember.
So you're Forrest Gump.
I'm Forrest Gump. Yeah.
You just run, baby.
I think I was in like 4th or 5th grade, and I think it was my dad. I don't really know if it was my mom. Sorry, but he bought me a pair of running shoes, and they were Nikes, and they were white and purple, and they were more white than purple, and I wanted to keep those bad boys clean. And I remember we went to a race that weekend, and they got muddy, and I think I was doing like the mile fun run, because that's just what my parents signed me up for. And I cried bloody murder because my shoes were dirty. And I'm like, I'm not meant for this. Like, I will go to your race and cheer for you and then go to breakfast afterwards. Like, I'm good with that. And then I remember kind of just getting through all of that. And in middle school, I wanted to try out for tennis. And the PE coach, who was also, I think, the coach of everything, because that's just how middle school worked. She was like, Lindsay, you shouldn't try out for tennis. Like, you just need to run track. And she was like, and we didn't even have a track. She was like, there's the field. Go run around it 3 times, and that's a mile. And if you can do that, then you're on track. And I ran around that probably 10 times because, again, I just didn't know any better. And in middle school, I was on track. I definitely ran the mile. I can't remember if I ran the half mile. My dad was at every meet cheering me on. And going into high school, again, I didn't know any better. I was following the footsteps of my brother. I was like, sure, I'll run cross country. And my freshman year, I wasn't that good. Like, I was just part of the team. Sophomore year is kind of where everything...
Let's stop for a second because I want people to understand, like, for high school, you say you're not that good. How many people are on a cross-country team?
And
what's considered good and not good?
Okay. Thank you for stopping me. So,
yeah, you were going on a...
I could go on.
No, it's great. I mean, you're passionate about it, which is great. Go ahead.
So a cross-country team, you can have 7 people run, but only 5 people count as the score. And to kind of give you a quick background, if you come in first place, you get 1 point. If you come in second place, you get 2 points. Third place, you get 3 points, so on and so forth. You, as a team, want to come in as the lowest score.
Okay.
So I hope
got it. No, it makes sense. Yep.
Okay. So if someone comes in 100th, you get 100 points versus if someone comes in 5th, you're getting 5 points. And so you want to come in 5th.
So if you come in dead last,
it's bad.
We call that the Stacy cuff.
Oh, we can talk about that. But yes, that is the Stacy cuff.
I'm such an asshole. All right.
So so my freshman year in high school with cross country, I was like the 100th. I wasn't good.
You weren't the 100th.
I honestly don't remember where I was.
Listen,
I just
there's
wasn't
no
good.
way. I have a hard time to believe your dad is going to sit there and support, knowing your dad, and I love your dad. There's no way he's going to sit there and be like, I love the fact that she's running, and I'm okay with her being dead last. No fucking way your dad's going to be okay with that. So you were not 100th.
No, I never came in last, but I wasn't good.
All right. And there's no way you're going to be recruited to go and run in college by coming in last as a freshman. Like, speed doesn't all of a sudden show up. Talked about it on the podcast this morning. Speed does not slump, just like your ass. Continue. I just have to make a point here. Things like that piss me off. I can't be dead. You didn't come in dead last. Go ahead.
I don't remember though.
You didn't.
So sophomore year is where things kind of turned for me, and I had the right training. I had a great coach, and she was actually a family friend. And she actually ran with us, which she could beat me, which was insane. But she really, really pushed me to the limits that I knew I could do. And I remember, so there is district, and you have to place so far in your district to qualify for regionals. You need to place so far in your regionals to qualify for states. And my school was never good enough to qualify as a team. No offense, Springstead High School. So I really needed to qualify as an individual to move up. And I think it was top 15, maybe 16. I needed to place within the district to move on to the region. And I was that last, I think it was 15. I came in the 15th place to qualify for regions. And I remember crying at the finish line that I got that place because I didn't want to train for a whole nother week and run a whole nother frickin' race because I was just over it. but again, my coach and my parents pushed me, and I did not qualify for states my sophomore year. But after that, I kind of understood like this is kind of cool. Like I guess I am good at this. I was never really the fastest girl out there, but I had a steady pace, and keeping that pace is kind of what was my style. And I finished my sophomore year, and I always ran track. That just kept me in shape for cross country.
Right.
In the spring. I never really excelled at track.
If you're a steady runner, I don't think track is something that you're going to excel in. Track is sprints.
Fast.
It's sprints, right? Like, and cross country is something that you pace yourself for. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Good take there.
Mm-hmm.
So I really trained going into my junior year that summer, and excelled my junior year. Again, I probably should have looked and confirmed all of this before I came on, but I think I made it to states my junior year.
I'm going to tell you.
I did. I qualified for states.
Nobody's going to fact check you. If anybody out there is going to fact check her,
it would be my dad.
It's going to be Chuck. And it's going to be people that just don't have a life. And if you don't have yeah, there you go. Sorry. Slam that wine into that mic. Ooh. If you don't have the life and you're really looking up Florida cross-country stats, listen.
You're kind of lame.
I'll give you a number to call because you need some help. All right, go ahead.
So, my junior year, I did qualify for states. I individually, I do remember that. And then senior year is really where I was like, can I go farther than just high school with this? Like, why not try? I had no desire truly to really stay in Florida. I wanted to see what else was out there. I'd lived in Florida my entire life. It would have been nice to explore different scenery, different seasons. So I was completely open to that. And following my senior cross-country year, I went to Foot Locker, which is a huge national race. It's divided into regions, so like Southeast, West. I'm not really sure what the different regions are, but it is a meet after your cross-country season. And I went to it, and it was actually in Charlotte, which is kind of ironic how it all works out.
Small world.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
And I placed at Foot Locker, and that's where I was like, holy shit, like I guess I'm good and I can do this. And
well, what is placing?
So you are divided.
At Foot Locker, what's placing?
I placed within the Florida team. So I came within the top 5 of the people in Florida that ran that race.
Okay.
And the Wingate cross-country coach was actually there, and he talked to me. And then shortly after, I did a campus visit, and it all kind of fell into place there, where I was like, well, then I guess I am good enough to run within NCAAs. It was Division II. I was certainly not good enough to run D1, but it was good enough to run D2, and that's kind of my story.
So, Wingate, were they the only school?
Florida Atlantic, actually, no, sorry, Florida International. That coach had also talked to me a lot as well. If I wanted to run in state, I could have been on the B team at Florida State. I could have not been at the A team, and I was not smart enough to get into UF.
So big schools, big Division I schools have an A and a B team for cross country.
Florida State did. I can't say that every school does, but Florida State did.
Listen, if Florida State did, most Division I schools do. So, do you get scholarship to be on the B team?
No, I think you walk on.
Okay, all right.
But I got scholarship at Wingate.
I know you did on for that, but I didn't know if like Division I they actually give scholarships to the.
I don't think so. Maybe just a little bit.
If they do, not to be mean, but that's fucking bullshit.
I really don't think they do.
Give kids scholarship to be fucking backup runners or backup anything. Like, give me a break. Go to Division II. Go to Division III. Like, come on. You still get a potential opportunity. All right, so you're at Wingate. You had some other opportunities. So you choose a major. What's the major?
I first declared athletic training. I wanted to somehow, some way be within the athletics of after college. I wasn't sure what direction I really wanted to go. So I was like, okay, athletic training, sure.
So you've always had like this desire to be involved in athletics, like whether it was being personally involved or by being an athlete or helping athletes.
To be very honest, the real major that I wanted to do was English with a minor in library science. And you guys could see Ryan's face. But I knew that would pay like $10 an hour, so I needed to be realistic.
Listen. There's nothing wrong with that job. I think that's fantastic. I have a cousin of mine that is a librarian. It's an admirable job. I just don't understand how somebody 16, 17 years old, that's their fucking ambition. Great. Obviously, it's not what happened. It's not. No. People are going to be so mad at me after this episode, and I don't really care. I could give a shit. But
when I knew my library,
Matt wants to know, why did Lindsay start dating me yet? He asked. He goes, have you asked why Lindsay started dating?
We haven't gotten there yet, Matt.
No, not yet.
That's junior year. So yes, I first declared athletic training, and I had to do clinical hours or whatever they were called, and I hated it. It was terrible. But I had just had this vision of like being on the sidelines as my job, and I thought being in athletic training was the only way to get there. So I think even before first semester, I was like, I can't do all this science. That's not where my brain is. So I actually switched to sport management, and my coach at Wingate was a sport management professor. So he obviously supported that and kind of led me in that direction. And I absolutely loved the classes. So pretty much it is a business degree with some sports things fizzled in between. So as far as like sport law, sport psychology, sport finance, that kind of stuff sprinkled in between, a business degree. And that's what I graduated with.
That's what I graduated with as well.
It is.
I went to Wingate on a business management and accounting major. Quickly realized, as much as I am outstanding at math, fuck that. I'm not doing that all day long. That was boring. I wanted to do something fun, and so I went into sport management. All right, so we've talked about a lot about your running, why you got into it, what you enjoy about it. We'll get more into. We haven't really touched on that, but we understand now why you do it, how you got to Wingate, what you majored in. You've run, as long as I've known you, a couple of half marathons. Mm-hmm. Your parents are marathon runners, I would say, more so. Like they do halves, but they do like to train for marathons. I want to understand from the mindset of a runner. Tell me about the dedication that it takes to run a half marathon, a training program, and the mental aspect of fighting that constant, I can't do it, right? Like, and I've talked about it on the podcast a few times of like running, of like, and anything physical activity, like your mind takes over. Your body can do incredible things. It's your mind that stops you from doing it. So when you talk about a half marathon or a marathon, that's an incredible feat. Whether you like running or not, training for something like that is something that takes it takes a certain mentality. So I want to understand from your perspective, somebody that's done it, somebody that's lived it around with your parents doing the marathons, all that. Tell us about the dedication that it takes, what types of training programs that you look into, and what your mental capacity is during that training?
So I have never run a full marathon. I've only done half marathons, and I don't think full marathons are really healthy for your body. So I am good at 13 miles. As far as, and I only ran half marathons after my collegiate career, and I was a quote unquote adult. And I've run them pre-children and after children. After children is a bit of, it's a little bit different, but I have always kind of heard and have the mentality like anyone can run. Physically, anyone can run unless you are physically incapable. But it is the mentality of how long and how fast you can run that you just have to overcome. And like I said, like I feel like I keep on repeating this, but I just didn't know any better. My parents ran marathons throughout my upbringing, and I remember they would do their long runs on Saturdays, and I would just ride my bike with them, and that's just what I knew. And I thought that was normal. And I really had the challenge. I wanted to, after college, to stay in shape. And my first half marathon, I actually ran with my parents. And it's about, so if you are in decent shape and have a good base, and by base, I mean saying you can run 4 to 5 miles without a problem, without kind of stopping and bending over. If you can run 4 to 5 miles and have that base, training is about 8 to 10 weeks. And your training, your long runs are going to be on the weekends, and you need to build up. I think in my mind, again, the mentality of it, if you can run 10 miles comfortably, 3 more miles is a piece of cake. I don't know how it is for a marathon because I haven't been in those shoes, and quite frankly, I have no desire to ever be in those shoes. I think it's crazy. So I've run 3 half marathons, and the second one that I ran has been my PR. The mentality of it and the training dedication is, you're going to have good days and bad days, but kind of overcome the bad days with your good training days. And it's a huge accomplishment when you can say that you've done that, because not everyone can really say that they've done that. So,
I know I can't. I ran a 10K. I thought I was going to fucking die. And I crushed it. I almost beat you.
yeah, but I beat you.
I shouldn't have ran with Preston for the first mile and a half.
I have the steady pace.
No, I shouldn't have ran with Preston for the first mile and a half. That's really what it came down to. I tried to be a good friend and run a slow pace, and I realized that I did not want to run for an hour. Mm-hmm. I wanted to just get this over with, and I almost fucking beat you.
Mm-hmm, but you didn't.
I'm an incredible athlete. Let's just talk about that for a second. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's not fun. I don't get it. I know people are going to be like, oh, it's a runner's high. Never gotten it. You know what I get?
I find it as a good challenge, though. Like, I don't. Okay, so if we're gonna talk here, I do not find it a challenge to go on a baseball field and throw a ball. I don't. But I find it a challenge to me to be on a road and run 13 miles.
You ever thrown a curveball that's gone 12 to 6?
No, because I'm not coordinated enough to do it.
No, you haven't. You want to know why? Because that's a goddamn challenge. You throw a curveball that goes from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on a clock, and it strikes somebody out. Let's talk about a goddamn high there. Running!
I find that as a challenge.
It's fair.
All right.
It's fair. I calm myself down. I just get that out. You try and bring out baseball. You're going to get yourself kicked out of this house. All right. Any race on your bucket list?
I mean, I can't say that I'm not ever going to run this, but I would love to see the Olympic trials, and I would love to be in Portland and to be on that track.
Are the Olympic trials on the Portland track?
Yes.
It's not in Portland, by the way.
Eugene. Sorry.
She's talking about the University of Oregon,
Yes.
which is in Eugene, Oregon, not Portland, Oregon.
Sorry, Eugene.
Headquarters of Nike. Yep. You sit here and tell me you're a runner, and yet I know more about running than you do.
Sorry, it's past my bedtime.
Oh, get off past your bedtime. It's past my bedtime too. We went out. We had a nice date night. We went to dinner. We've had a couple drinks. Came home. There's no kids. We got a bullshit dog right now that's digging in the couch, driving me insane. And she tells me, it's past my bedtime.
So, yes, I would love to see the Olympic trials in Eugene.
Okay.
But to run a race, I don't
know. No, I want to know your bucket race.
Mm-hmm. That would be one.
That's not a bucket race. You have to
run it. Oh, that I want to run?
Yeah.
Ugh.
If you don't have one, that's cool.
I really don't have one.
All right, that's fine. You've basically let down your parents, but that's fine.
Sorry.
I know. Outside of running, because for a lot of us that are athletes or former athletes, running is a form of punishment. Or there's plenty of people out there that love running and they find it soothing and fun. And I talk a lot of shit about it, but I've gotten into running and it is kind of nice. You kind of just let things go and you kind of go with the flow. You get some music going, or you just don't have any music. Like I know you run a lot of times without music.
I never run with music.
Oh, it just is fascinating to me, just from a mental perspective of like what motivates you to keep going. But outside of running, what do you do? What does Lindsay do to keep in shape? What are some things that she enjoys doing outside of running?
So lately, for all you followers, you know that Ryan wakes up at 4:00 in the morning. I have found it difficult to go back to sleep.
I'm a machine, people.
After that. So, because we have 2 kids and you obviously can't leave them alone, I do a lot of stuff at the house. I find a lot of different YouTube channels where I do about 30-minute workouts. I also, for a long period of time, I did a lot of Beachbody workouts. So I love Sean T. He's very challenging. So that's kind of
Insanity and T25, those programs, yeah.
So I do a lot of in-home workouts, and I try as much as possible to run when I can.
I do want to go
outside, not on a treadmill.
Just to defend myself, because this is just like an out of the norm podcast to where I normally don't have to defend myself. I do want to point out the fact that she mentioned not 45 seconds ago that she is almost forced to work out at home because we can't leave the kids alone. Listen, in defense of myself, I wake up at 4:00 in the morning.
You do?
Planes aren't landing. People aren't awake. There's no cars on the road. I wake up at 4:00 in the morning to go to the gym. I do want to just defend myself for the fact that she said, we can't leave the kids alone.
Well, because I can't go to the gym at the same time. So I need to
Are you going to be up at 4:00 in the morning?
I am.
The last time I saw you up at 4:00 in the morning was to get up and go pee in the bathroom.
I'm awake. I may not be out of bed, but I am awake.
This lady is the opposite of a morning person. Okay, she sets coffee to be made at like 8:00 at night the night before, knowing she's gonna wake up and need some caffeine to get her going, and it's not at 4:00 in the morning. Okay, all right. That was just a side note. I just wanted to defend myself for the fact that you made it seem like because I go to the gym, you can't. It's not true.
No,
she has a
I'm
gym
not
membership.
saying that. We just can't go at the same time.
I know. All right, good. All right, so why is that important to you in your life? Why is fitness important to you? You touched on it. You've talked about it. But give us your 30-second, 15-second, why is fitness important to you?
I've been around it my whole life. I've been surrounded by it my whole life. And I'm a huge advocate. What you put into your body is what you get out of it. And I always feel better. I have a better attitude. I'm a better parent. I'm a better mother. I'm a better wife when I do work out and I get a sweat in. So that's why it's important to me.
All right, cool. All right, let's switch gears because it got asked by Matt
Hey, Matt.
while we're recording. Matt wants to know. So,
Excuse me.
very important listeners want to know
Yeah.
our story.
Yeah, let's do it.
They want to know your perspective of how we met. And now I got Matt's wife texting me right now too. Ashley, she's going to be on the podcast in the next couple of weeks too, but oh my God, people, get a life. It's 10:20 on a fucking Friday night. Get a life and go out and do something. Go get drunk or something. I don't know, but stop texting me. I'm trying to record a podcast here. All right, so tell the listener how, from your perspective, did Lindsay and Ryan meet, and what was it? This is important for me. What was it that made you fall in love with me? And then I'll chime in as needed.
Okay.
So tell me the story of how we met.
Well, we went to Wingate. We had the same major, so we definitely had the same classes. So we knew of each other, but I can't say that we knew each other. We knew of each other. And then it was officially our junior year, going into spring semester, I believe.
It was February. That's
spring semester. And so we went to college back in the day when we had AOL, Instant Messenger, and we lived in apartments our junior year, and we actually lived in the same building. I was on floor 3, he was on floor 1, and our neighbor was also a baseball pitcher as well. And his name was Stuart, and I remember Stu coming over and saying how DeFab wanted to talk to me. And I was like, well, if DeFab wants to talk to me, you can give him my screen name and he can message me on AOL, because that's just... I'm DeFab. Yeah, Ryan's DeFab. Because that's how I roll. I was totally like playing hard to get. I had no desire whatsoever to date someone. So that's just kind of my attitude in and all. But meanwhile, in the back of my head, my roommate Stacy loved baseball, and we all kind of wanted to get in with the cool baseball team. Wingate at the time was a dry campus, which means you can't drink on campus. I know that sounds absolutely absurd. But the baseball team had a house off campus where they could drink. So in the back of my head, I was like, sure, I'll talk to this guy. And me and Stacy have our in to finally go to some baseball parties. So I don't think it was right away, but Ryan then finally hit me up on AOL. He was probably stalking my away messages and my idle time.
No, listen. I have better things to do with my time than sit there at my computer and see if you're online or not.
So he hit me up and we talked, we weren't talking, we were typing for like 4 hours that night.
Yeah, I had a game. I had a doubleheader the next day.
Yeah, it was like a Saturday night and you had a game the next day.
No, it was a Friday
night. Okay.
Yeah.
And you had a game the next day. And I remember telling Stacey, I'm like, we have to go to the game because it was a home game, right? It was a homestand.
Yeah, so in college, if most colleges, if you're a baseball player, Friday night, basically starting Thursday until Sunday afternoon, you're a prisoner. You are not allowed to leave your apartment, dorm, house, wherever you live. So the only outside influences we had were, at the time, AOL Instant Messenger. Like, that was about all we could do to talk. Like, because we would get calls from our coaches at certain hours of the night to make sure we were in our room. Yeah. So it was a Friday night. So we talked for hours. I think it was like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
3:00 in the morning.
And you were finally like, I need to go to bed. I'm like, okay. And the next day, I remember telling Stacy, like, hey, I talked to this guy. I talked to DeFab all night. Like, we should go to the baseball game.
By the way, you've said it now 3 or 4 times, DeFab. Apparently, that is a name that resonated throughout the university at the time. It had to have been, because if you're telling your friends and everybody else that you talk to a guy, DeFab.
They knew. Dude.
of a university that had 1,200 students, I was super proud.
So was I.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
So, and then I think after that, though, we were still kind of talking, but I remember going down to your apartment. I don't think it was that homestand. I think it was maybe a few after
No, it was
that.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
It was Sunday night. So we
Was that the same weekend?
I don't know if it
and
was
you
the same
invited me over?
weekend. I don't know if it
don't
might
think
have been. It
was
could have been.
it?
I don't know.
I don't know
But
either.
same thing of, like I said, we're prisoners from Thursday until Sunday afternoon. So Sunday nights, the baseball team would have
Poker.
a couple parties, and in my apartment it was usually poker, and it would be half the team, their girlfriends, whatever, in our 4-bedroom apartment. And so Sunday nights is when everyone else would be getting fucked up Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'd be getting fucked up Sunday night.
It's a dry campus.
Wonderful time to get drunk. But I remember inviting her down, and then I'll let you continue.
And I totally RA, like resident assistant, is that what RA is? Yeah. Politely knocked, and his roommate Seth was like, "Who the hell are you?" And I'm like, "Hi, is Ryan here?" And they were like, "Who's Ryan?"
I remember Seth closing the door, and I'm in the kitchen, and he turns, and there's literally like 30 people in my apartment. He turns around and he goes, "Is there a Ryan in this place?" And I was like, "Dude, that's my fucking name." Like, I lived with this kid for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was one of his groomsmen. He was one of my groomsmen. Supposed to be groomsman. He joined the Air Force after college. Couldn't make it. He made it to the wedding, but couldn't make it as a groomsman. But turns, "Is there a Ryan here?" That's how well known I was as DFAB. Like, people did not know my name was Ryan. That was the same thing in high school. Like, people had no idea that my name was Ryan. That's why I try and so hard now be like, I'm 34 fucking years old. Please don't call me DFAB anymore. DFAB can be my kids. But yeah, so she knocked on the door. It was like this. It was like, and then Seth answered, and she's like, "Is Ryan there?" And he was like, "Yeah, bullshit. There's a Ryan here." Turns around, "Is there a Ryan here?" "Yeah, dude, let her in."
Yeah. So I came in. That's when I was first introduced to Miller Lite,
which you did not drink.
I know I did not drink it. Not the first time. Because I had class the next day.
Yeah.
This was a Sunday night. I couldn't get drunk.
Okay. I asked her, this is college, guys. Like, I just want everyone to understand, like, people have this perception of college as just like parties and incredible and it's fun and everyone's willing to do whatever. Not my wife. No. Oh, no. Let's not interfere with her sport management degree, which I was also pursuing. That night, I think I offered her a beer not 15 to 16 times,
Probably.
Maybe more. And every time she said no, and I was like, this bitch ain't gonna last here with me. I don't know about her. Like, she's hot, but goddamn, like, she doesn't drink, she doesn't do anything. Like, she's boring.
Yeah, she's boring.
She's boring. Like, yeah, I got class at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Guess what? I'm gonna show up drunk to it. 1, because I have to. 2, because I have to. I'm paying for it, and you at that school you had to because your coaches knew. The professors would fucking tell on you if you didn't go to class, which was such. I look at it now and I'm like, that's such bullshit. At the same time, I'm like, it is good because it did keep us accountable. But
yeah.
All right, yeah. So I introduced her to Miller Lite. She didn't want any.
No. But we hung out that night and we kind of continued talking again, like on AOL. And then from there, it kind of just fostered, like, you took me on our true first date, like, off campus.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just blossomed from there, I would say. Kind of won me over. And then we finally, me and Stacy went to some baseball parties at the baseball house.
It was owned by a softball player, but yeah,
it was fabulous.
It was the baseball house. But what was it that you say I won you over? There's some gems in there, you gloss over that. Because I can tell you, I mean, I know, for anybody out there listening, like, if you're in a relationship and whatnot, like, there are times where it is, you question the other person, not in a bad way, but, like, I remember sitting in my room in my apartment and telling you that I loved you, and you basically said thanks to me.
I did not say it back.
Yeah, basically said thank you to me. And it wasn't, but I think it was like 4 hours later, you came back down and you're like, I just want to let you know, I do love you too. And I was like, cool. I basically wanted to cut my wrists for the past 4 hours. But at the same time, like that, at that point in time in our lives, that is scary. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's why I did ask you that question. Like, what was it that made you fall in love with me? Because anybody that's listening, I told Matt, my best friend, the day that we had that conversation on AOL Instant Messenger.
We should have saved that conversation. Shoot.
I bet we do, but our fucking computers are so damn old, I can't even turn them on anymore.
We still have the desktop.
Oh,
it
God,
might be on there.
Yeah, it's gone. Just get rid of it. I told him, I was like, I'm going to marry this girl. He's like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Yeah. You're not even dating her. I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, I'm going to marry her. 11 years later, 11 years of marriage later, we're still married. Yeah, here we are, drinking on a Friday, crushing it.
Yeah.
Getting wild, people, at our own house.
So certainly I would say your humor won me over. I think you've mentioned it before. Not everyone understands your humor, but I got it. I love it. And I still love you to this day for your humor. I thought, and I still think you were very attractive. Like who doesn't love a baseball player? I mean, come on. So
there's a lot of fat baseball players.
Well, but you're not. I mean, you guys look great in some tight pants.
I do have, I have a great ass.
The baseball stadium is kind of on a hill, and cross country we would always run that hill for workouts. So we were always eyeing you guys, but we just didn't say it. And pitchers always look great in their pants.
This is the second time you've mentioned my pants. So,
but looking back, and like kudos mom and dad for not being like, what the fuck are you doing? But I mean, we got engaged and married really young, and looking back, it's kind of one of those things where if I were in those shoes, I'd be like, pump the brakes. Like, do you really know what you're getting into? But it all kind of worked out for us. We didn't know any better. We jumped in like head first, feet first, everything. And we just went for it.
Yeah. So that's good. So that transitions into what I wanted to talk about next, which was how we did get, engaged right out of college.
Yeah, it was my birthday.
It was your birthday 2 weeks after graduating college. We're married in our early 20s, starting careers.
Yeah.
You know, what were, you touch on it, so I'm not going to go back to it. We've been married now 11 years. We got 2 kids. We both have a few new jobs since being together. And now we have side jobs and hobbies. So, you know, this is a hobby of mine, doing podcasts, and you have an actual LLC on the side of what we do for day to day. You own a wedding, day of planning. Wedding planning company. So we just glossed over basically 11 years, but that's fine. Like, look, 11 years. We were married. We got engaged 2 weeks out of college. On her birthday, we were living at my parents' house. We moved into an apartment. We got this sweet dog named Bronx, who you now know has a pancreas problem. And he's been driving me nuts this whole podcast. I've gotten up 4 or 5 times that you guys have not heard and like let the dog out, though he did not want to go out. And Lindsay just sat here and talked by herself.
Yeah, it was, wonderful.
So we've had him. We've done that. We bought a house after.
We've had 2 houses.
We bought a house. Yeah, we bought a house in the prime of the market, 2007, and then the market crashed right after that. So we got that house right away. Sold that house, bought a new house, have had 2 kids, and at the same time trying to still figure out like what we want to do and accomplish and stay creative in our lives. Mm-hmm. You started the wedding company 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
It's a year and a half. Yep.
Officially. You've been doing it for a couple years, but officially created our LLC. And then a couple months ago, I started this podcast. Not even a month ago, a month and a half ago, not even started this podcast. So, what advice do you give now that people? I just did the whole cliff notes of. That's a quick 11 years. What advice do you give to your brides? Because you've been married 11 years and you got married young.
Yeah. So a lot of the brides that I've had are at all different stages of life. I mean, I've had some where they're second marriages and there's kids involved. I've had some where they're young. But truly, I have kind of learned, and we figured this out and we did it. If you don't grow together, you will grow apart. And we somehow figured that out without people telling us that we needed to grow together. So personally and professionally, I feel like we both did. Both of our professional careers kind of went completely different ways, but I think you've mentioned it before. Now we work at the same company. We're no longer involved in sports whatsoever as far as our professional career. And then personally, it really is all about communication. You can't assume that the other person knows what you're thinking. You have to communicate it. And we've kind of just gotten on the same page as far as daily, weekly, and monthly schedules. And you got to make it work. There's a lot of sacrifices, but that's what works for our family.
What advice would you give any couple out there to have a healthy, stable relationship? I think you kind of touched on it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I kind of did. If you
Compromise,
don't,
communication.
yeah, and you have to have some common interest. Like you have to. I mean, they say opposites attract, but also you have to have some common interest to grow together and grow your relationship. I think that's really important. And there's just so many different factors. You kind of have to prioritize things similarly. I've seen many times where some people prioritize kids above their relationship, and I don't agree with that. You have to put your relationship with your spouse above your kids, because if you don't have a healthy relationship, then your kids will see that and they're going to grow and develop in that environment.
It was the first relationship you had.
Exactly.
Before the kids came.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to put time into it. I'd certainly
and
agree.
It takes time and it takes effort. It's not gonna, years later, things just don't happen overnight.
Yeah,
so. That's
right. All right, quick questions. We're gonna finish up here. Favorite place to travel or visit?
Charleston,
South Carolina.
That's where we got married.
Number 1 city to visit in the world, according to some article. Yep. Favorite restaurant in Charlotte?
So within the neighborhood that we live in.
Nope. Favorite restaurant in Charlotte?
OG.
It's an Italian restaurant. It is actually around the corner from our house. All right. Favorite place to grab a drink?
Ballantine Hotel.
It is pretty sweet. It's expensive as shit.
So I just love people watching. I could sit at a bar and just people watch.
This is a favorite place to grab a drink anywhere that you've been.
Oh, really?
Ballantine is Charlotte. Hotel in Charlotte. Okay, that's fine. We're just gonna stick with that. It's quick.
But what is it called? Ocean Drive? Is that what's in Miami Beach?
Ocean Drive.
What is the main strip in
A1A?
Miami? In Miami. What does that mean?
Yeah, A1A. A1A. Beachfront Avenue. That's Vanilla Ice, if you guys don't know.
Anyway, we went to Miami Beach quite a few years ago, and the people watching there at the bars was fabulous.
I don't remember that bar.
Oh, okay, that's a shame.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, there it is.
We brought it back, poops. You like to drink beer. What's your favorite beer to drink? Doesn't have to be in Charlotte. I want to know, what's your favorite beer? You go to the grocery store, you grab a beer. What's your beer?
I'm probably grabbing a Hefeweizen of some sort. I'm not a big, like, heavy IPA person. I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that phase, and I can't do light beer unless I'm on a beach. So,
It's got to be warm weather.
yeah.
Like tonight I had a Corona, and what was the first thing I told you?
Tastes like summer.
I go, it's a summer beer.
Yeah.
I murdered a Corona, and it was a summer beer, and it was fantastic, but it's December, and I don't want to be drinking
That's not
Coronas.
what you need. Yeah.
All right. Favorite brewery doesn't have to be in Charlotte, which I think is going to be in Charlotte because I don't think I've ever visited any breweries outside of Charlotte.
We've been to
We've been to Oscar Blues
in
that's
Cigar
right.
City. What up, Tampa? I'm gonna say Old Mac only because I'm a mom, and at that place, your kids can run around and you can have a beer, and it's beautiful.
And their beer's good.
And their beer's good.
Let's be honest. Their beer's good. All right. I'm going to make you the interviewee. Interviewer? I'll be the interviewee. Let's finish with, what questions do you have for me?
Oh wow. I hadn't really thought about this. This is terrible.
That's okay. You don't need to.
Okay, so what's your favorite place to visit?
My favorite place to visit? New York City.
Oh.
There's every time I go, whether it's for work or just pleasure, something new. There's something to do.
Yeah.
And again, I touched on it earlier today about Anthony Bourdain and the influence he's had on my life, unknowingly, obviously, and then just for the fact that he lived there. There's just so much stuff to do. Mm-hmm. Like, you can live there for 20 years and still not do everything that's there. That's just how cool the city is. So for me, New York City.
Yeah. I'm going to, God, what's the golf guy's name that we watch sometimes with the creep?
Faraday.
I'm going to Faraday on you.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Nike, Under Armour.
Nike.
Ford, Chevy.
Ford. Good. You had two. You had two. That's how you end it. You had two.
Chocolate, vanilla.
Vanilla.
Beer or wine.
Beer.
Manhattan or martini.
I'm going Manhattan.
Ooh. Cat or dog.
Dog. I fucking hate cats. Cats are evil. They're fucking, sorry, Preston, but your cat is shit. And you're lucky I feed that fucking thing when you leave town.
Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Why?
Because I can get drunk and not be hungover going to work.
20s or 30s?
30s.
Yeah, why?
I'm more mature. I understand what I can do and what I can't do. 20s, you think you're fucking invincible, and you do stupid shit and you regret it. I've come and I put it on my story today. I basically don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks about me. And I'm totally great with it. And you want to know why? It's because I just stopped caring. In your 20s, I think you care too much about what other people think about you. When you start living your life and understanding that what happens around you and the people around you truly don't matter and your happiness is what matters, that's your 30s.
Yeah. And I think we should end it at that.
Great. Guys, I love you. Mama, I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
You did great. She was so nervous. She came up to me a couple hours ago.
No one cares about running.
I'm
let's be
nervous.
honest.
I don't know what to talk about. We talked for over an hour, and you have a great story. You
Thanks,
truly
Mom and
do.
Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck and Ann. And yeah, nobody wants to talk about running. Let me tell you something. Anybody that after they finish their athletic career, there is some type of running involved. Mm-hmm. I'm the same type of person, right? Like, baseball ended, I still have to run because running is a great form of keeping in shape. So I don't care what people say. Oh, I don't care about running. Blah, blah, blah. It is always a staple in most people's lives that are trying to stay fit. Or what's the first thing that people do when they're trying to lose weight? They go and run.
Yep.
It's not diet. It's not anything else. They go and run. You got a great story. You're smoking hot. You got a sweet ass. And I love you for it. And thank you for coming on.
Thanks, DeFab.
That's super hot. I like that.
Love you too.
All right. See you guys. That's our 2 cents worth. If you have any problems with it, truly don't give a shit. All right. Bye.